Love no layover. The uninterrupted bond between Princess Leonor and Sofia of Spain. The boarding announcement echoed through Madrid's Barajas airport at 6:15 a.m. Flight IB 3251 to Cardiff, now boarding all passengers. Princess Leonor stood at the gate, her diplomatic passport in hand, watching through the floor-to-ceiling windows as her future quite literally waited on the tarmac. But she wasn't looking at the aircraft that would carry her back to her studies in Wales. Instead, her eyes were fixed on the reflection in the glass, Sofia, standing just behind her, trying not to cry. In that moment, as hundreds of travelers rushed past with their connections and layovers, their love needed no such interruptions. It was direct, immediate, and unbreakable. This wasn't just another goodbye between sisters, it was a testament to a bond that refuses to acknowledge distance, duty, or the demands of royal protocol. Love, as they had learned, requires no layover. When distance becomes irrelevant, the concept of love no layover might sound like modern travel jargon, but for Princess Leonor of Spain and her younger sister Sofia, it represents something far more profound than efficient flight connections. It's about the kind of love that travels direct routes straight to the heart, bypassing all the complicated stops and transfers that royal life seems designed to create. Born just over 2 years apart, Leonor in 2005 and Sofia in 2007, the Spanish princesses have spent their entire lives navigating a world where every relationship must pass through the customs of protocol, the security checks of public scrutiny, and the baggage claim of constitutional duty. Yet somehow, their sisterly bond has remained remarkably free from such complications, operating on what could only be described as a direct emotional flight path. Princess Leonor, now 18 and heir to the Spanish throne, has learned that most relationships in royal life come with layovers. There are the obligatory stops through formal introductions, the extended delays in diplomatic waiting rooms, and the frequent cancellations due to affairs of state. But with Sofia, 17 and forever her closest confidant, the connection has always been refreshingly direct, no transfers required, no extended delays, no risk of lost emotional baggage. The architecture of unconditional love. To understand the unique bond between these two young women, one must first understand the peculiar ecosystem in which it has flourished. The Spanish royal family, under the guidance of King Felipe VI and Queen Letizia, has worked deliberately to create what royal watchers often describe as the most normalized monarchy in Europe. This isn't the gilded cage of previous royal generations, but rather a carefully calibrated balance between public duty and private authenticity. Within this environment, Leonor and Sofia have been allowed, even encouraged, to maintain the kind of sisterly relationship that transcends their different destinies. While Leonor carries the constitutional weight of future queenship, and Sofia enjoys the relative freedom of the spare heir, their parents have ensured that these different paths never create artificial barriers between the sisters. Their love operates on a frequency that seems immune to the static of royal protocol. When they're together, whether at official state ceremonies or private family dinners, observers note an ease of communication that suggests years of shared experiences, inside jokes, and mutual support. They've developed what psychologists might call an emotional shorthand, the ability to communicate volumes with a glance, a gesture, or a barely perceptible shift in posture. This direct emotional connection became even more crucial when Leonor's educational journey took her away from Spain. The decision to attend UWC Atlantic College in Wales wasn't just about preparing the future queen for global leadership, it was also the first real test of whether their love no layover bond could survive physical separation. The geography of sisterhood. When Princess Leonor first departed for Wales in August 2021, royal commentators focused primarily on the symbolic significance of her international education. Here was the future Queen of Spain choosing to complete her secondary education abroad, demonstrating the monarchy's commitment to global engagement and cultural competency. But for Sofia, watching her sister board that first flight to Cardiff, the symbolism was far more personal and immediate. The 1,200 kilometers between Madrid and Cardiff might seem insignificant in an age of instant communication and rapid travel. But for teenagers whose daily lives had been intertwined since birth, the distance represented an entirely new kind of challenge. How do you maintain the spontaneous intimacy of sisterhood when conversations must be scheduled around different time zones, academic commitments, and royal obligations? The answer, as both princesses discovered, lies in the quality of connection rather than its frequency. Their love, requiring no layover, found ways to travel the most direct routes between their hearts. Late-night video calls became sacred appointments, with Sofia often staying up past her usual bedtime to catch Leonor between study sessions. Weekend visits, when possible, were treated not as formal royal visits but as precious opportunities to collapse back into the comfortable rhythms of sisterhood. What emerged from this geographic separation was actually a strengthening of their bond rather than a weakening. Forced to be more intentional about their connection, they developed new depths of mutual understanding. Leonor began to appreciate how Sofia served as her anchor to Spanish life, providing updates not just on family activities but on the cultural currents and social changes she was missing while abroad. Sofia, meanwhile, gained a new respect for the sacrifices her sister was making in preparation for future leadership. The language of unspoken understanding. One of the most remarkable aspects of the Leonor-Sofia relationship is their apparent ability to communicate without the formal protocols that typically characterize royal interaction. Royal watchers have noted that when the sisters are together at public events, they seem to exist in a bubble of mutual understanding that makes the surrounding ceremony almost irrelevant. This unspoken communication became particularly evident during significant royal events where both sisters were present. At their father's proclamation as king in 2014, then 9-year-old Leonor and 7-year-old Sofia instinctively reached for each other's hands during the most solemn moments of the ceremony. At subsequent state occasions, they've been observed offering each other subtle gestures of support, a reassuring touch during long ceremonies, a shared smile during particularly tedious protocols, a barely perceptible eye roll when facing yet another lineup of officials to greet. Their emotional shorthand extends beyond public appearances to encompass the full range of sisterly experience. Friends of the family report that the princesses have maintained their own private traditions and rituals, from shared jokes about palace life to elaborate games that can only be fully understood by someone who has grown up in the unique environment of contemporary Spanish royalty. This private language of sisterhood became even more precious when Leonor's education took her abroad. Unable to rely on physical presence for emotional support, they had to translate their intuitive understanding into the more deliberate medium of digital communication. Yet somehow, their essential connection seemed to survive this translation remarkably intact. The sacrifice and gift of royal duty. Princess Leonor's path to the throne requires sacrifices that Sofia will never have to make, yet their relationship has managed to navigate this fundamental inequality with remarkable grace. Leonor must always be on, in public, must consider the constitutional implications of her choices, and must accept that her personal preferences will often be subordinated to state interests. Sofia, while certainly constrained by royal protocol, retains freedoms that her older sister cannot enjoy. Yet rather than creating resentment or distance between them, this disparity seems to have generated a deeper mutual appreciation. Leonor values Sofia's perspective precisely because it isn't filtered through the lens of future queenship. Sofia can offer honest opinions, share unguarded observations, and provide the kind of authentic feedback that becomes increasingly rare as one rises in royal hierarchy. For Sofia, watching her sister navigate the increasing responsibilities of her position has generated not jealousy but admiration. She has a front row seat to the personal costs of public service, observing how Leonor must constantly balance individual desires against constitutional duties. This intimate knowledge of the sacrifices royal leadership requires has made Sofia one of her sister's most informed and sympathetic supporters. Their relationship demonstrates how love can transcend even the most fundamental inequalities when it operates with sufficient understanding and generosity. Leonor's future crown doesn't create a barrier between the sisters, instead, it becomes something they navigate together, with Sofia serving as both supporter and reality check for her future queen sister. Modern royalty, ancient bonds. The bond between Princess Leonor and Sofia represents something unique in the history of Spanish royalty, a sisterly relationship that has been allowed to develop and flourish without being artificially constrained by traditional royal hierarchies. Previous generations of royal siblings often found their relationships complicated by rigid protocols, competing ambitions, and the isolating effects of court life. But Leonor and Sofia have grown up in an era where Spanish royalty has consciously evolved toward greater accessibility and authenticity. Their parents, King Felipe and Queen Letizia, both understand the importance of maintaining genuine human connections within the artificial construct of constitutional monarchy. They've worked to ensure that their daughter's relationship remains rooted in love and mutual support rather than competition and protocol. This conscious modernization of royal relationships has allowed the sisters to develop what might be called a post-protocol bond, one that acknowledges the realities of their positions while refusing to be defined by them. They understand that Leonor will be queen and Sofia will not, but this understanding serves as the foundation for their relationship rather than its limitation. Their love story is thoroughly modern in its emotional directness and technological connectivity, yet timeless in its fundamental commitment to mutual support and understanding. They represent a new generation of royalty that refuses to sacrifice authentic relationships on the altar of traditional expectations. The social media generation of princesses. Growing up in the age of Instagram, TikTok, and constant digital connectivity, Princess Leonor and Sofia represent the first generation of Spanish royalty to navigate sisterhood in the context of social media culture. While their own social media presence is carefully managed or non-existent, in the case of personal accounts they've grown